Hello, everybody, and welcome to the FloTrack podcast presented by Wonderful Pistachios. I'm Livek Pone, joined with Ashley Tishins. No Corey Mull today. No chat guy.
Sad. No chat guy today, but he'll be back with us soon.
Yes, we had a little pet emergency, so Corey's handling that. But so you just get Ashley and I today.
Yes.
Holding down the fort. I feel like I say this every show. We're coming off of a jam-packed weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of light on the collegiate side just because they all had a week off. They're getting ready for the East and the West Regionals this week. But, of course, we had the LA Grand Prix. There were a couple big meets happening for the professional side. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about NCAA Regionals, kind of what to expect, what storylines we're looking forward to. And then Ashley and I and Brian Dybel will be holding down the fort in Eugene, Oregon for Prefontaine.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. You know me. I think of all the meets I've been to, Prefontaine last year was probably like my favorite meet I've ever been to. So many things happen, and I know I'm looking forward to it this year too.
I know if I look like I've been crying, it's because I've been like laughing, crying this morning. Ashley and I were literally pulling up some videos of Prefontaine last year, some state championships that got us really excited. So we're going to talk about it all. But let's first start with the LA Grand Prix recap. We saw a couple big namers, gamers, toe the line, put out some performances. But let's talk about Sydney McLaughlin Laverne first, because I think that was the biggest event, that 200 meters. It was pretty much stacked, but here we had Sydney grabbing the victory in a 22:07. Are we surprised by the event? Okay, yes. I'm surprised too.
Yes,
to be very honest.
To me, so this was the biggest thing that happened to me this week, and I think from the LA Grand Prix. Like, I think we had this conversation last week because she originally was supposed to run the 400 hurdles here, and then she dropped to the 200, and we were all like, gosh, like what can she like? You know, she opened up in like the 100-meter hurdles and then ran a 200. I think it was the Oxy invite. That's what she did originally. And then it's like, man, like when's she going to open up in her event?
Yeah.
But honestly, like, shoot, like she destroyed that field in the women's 200. And it was a loaded field too. I mean, you had Gabby Thomas, you had Abby Steiner. Like, it was such a big field. And she runs 22:07 to just destroy everyone. Like, I think if there were any questions as to like what, you know, her fitness level is like right now and like where she's at in her training, like I think all those questions can now kind of go away a little bit, at least on the speed side. Like we know that speed's there and Sydney's being Sydney right now.
Yeah, I want to hang on to speed real quick because I had a chance to I think you and I were both listening to a post-race interview with Sydney, and she was talking about how she was working on that speed work. She was striving for that 21:99, just kind of dipping underneath 22 seconds. But she feels like this has been the best that her speed has ever been. And to hear that going into the Olympic year and not seeing her compete as often, it's like, ooh, man, I'm kind of looking forward to trials, which also brings up a point that she's just going to be running the 400-meter hurdles. I know there were some questions, and I know we talked about last week how I read her book and how she was just kind of like ready to explore different events, but she kind of shut all that down and was like, I am focusing on one event, the bread and butter, and that is the 400-meter hurdles. But I was really surprised, honestly. My mom even texted me saying, what happened to Gabby Thomas? And I was kind of looking more for that bigger matchup. But I know Gabby Thomas put out a tweet out there saying how, like, she committed to this meet a long time ago. She didn't want to let the fans down, which I respect.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because I was going to bring it up too, but
yes,
continue.
But I respect and love that. And she's like, I'm just in the middle of a training block, so it just did not work out, but we're all good. And that made me very happy to see because we've been, even with Corey last week, talking about do it for the fans. And we want to see that excitement. Everyone's talking about how can we elevate track and field. We need to see our stars compete. And despite what she ran, she still towed the line. And again, the bigger picture is Olympic trials. But what were your thoughts on any of that?
I'm glad you mentioned that because that was actually a point I was going to bring up. And I have the tweet up right now and I'll read it for y'all. But she tweeted, obviously didn't look like myself today. It happens every season when I compete in the middle of this training block. But I committed to the meet a long time ago and I just can't pull out when fans look forward to seeing us compete. I'm okay. Everything is going according to plan. Again, she gets it, right? Like, I feel like that it's so common nowadays where, you know, maybe you're in that part of that training block where you're putting in a lot of work. You're not necessarily like looking to race all out or something like that. And maybe you pull out of a meet that you were supposed to do. But like, she understands that like in order for track and field, I feel like, to grow, we need to see, like you said, all these stars competing consistently. And she knows she has fans. You know, she's, you know, the U.S. champion in the 200. Like, I think to me, I thought that was really cool to see. Personally.
Yeah, I agree. So again, just toeing the line, doing Gabby Thomas things, but it was Sydney's time to shine.
It was her time to shine.
22:07 for a personal best.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's scary to think where her speed is and where where that speed endurance is going to come from. Because goodness gracious, 22:07 is not.
I think it's just crazy to just think about her range, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm pulling up. I recently saw a tweet where it listed like all of her PRs across like every event. I'm trying to pull it up real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, just like now she drops down to 22:07 in the 200. I believe she's gone 22. Here we go. Personal best. She's gone 11:07 with a little bit wind there in the 100.
Okay.
She's gone, where are the 100-meter hurdles? 22:65 in the 100-meter hurdles. Again, 22:07 in the 200. We all know that she went 48:74 in that 400. She did that last year at U.S. Championships.
Literally mind-blowing. Yes.
Like, again, like these are all, you know, times that she's clocked since she's been a pro. We use most of these and stuff like that. So I think that's just, again, she's the GOAT.
She's the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely with the GOAT emoji there. She did mention that she was going to run in a couple, maybe 1 to 2 local meets. And, of course, she's in, you know, California right now. So
I think
just for a tune-up, and then, boom.
I think for me now it's exciting since the news did drop that, because Bobby Kersey said that she is going to, like you mentioned, going to be competing the 400 hurdles at trials and, you know, hopefully at the Olympics. Seeing Femke Bol versus Sydney McLaughlin, I think now it's a whole nother conversation, right? Because before Sydney had been running, you know, Femke Bol ran a lot indoors. She broke the world's record indoors for the indoor 400. And people were like, man, Femke's going to be hard to beat. But now that we've seen Sydney actually come out here and lay down some stuff, like, shoot, like, it's going to be interesting, I think.
Do you think Sydney has shut down and hushed some haters after this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm sure people, I mean, myself included, you know, like, I think just last week we were like, gosh, like, you know, what kind of shape is she in for the, like, you know, what's going on in that training block? Obviously, that's been the formula she's kind of followed since being with Bobby Kersey's, like, training more, not racing as much. So, I mean, it even sounded to me a little bit, too, and some of my doubts. So I think it makes that Olympic 400-meter hurdles all the more interesting now.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trials now because it's like we have yet to see that 400-meter hurdle race come together. You know, we see the 200. We saw her compete in the 100-meter hurdles. We know she's hurdling, and she also mentioned, like, both of the knees are good, which is also essential. So wait till we just combine everything together.
And I do think that I saw that she's planning on opening in the 400 hurdles. I believe the Edwin Moses Legends meet in Atlanta, part of the American Track League, and that's going to be Friday, May 31st. I think I saw that yesterday.
Okay.
I'm trying to confirm that right now, but I did see that.
Awesome. So, again, Sydney McLaughlin-Laverne is here. She's back, ready to go, and is looking sharp. Speaking of looking sharp, Rai Benjamin. Goodness gracious. 46.64. I saw someone leave a comment on one of the posts that were out there saying, oh, I thought this was the open 400. I was like, oh, no, sir.
No.
This is over 10 hurdles, 10 barriers around the track. Literally took down the field by nearly 90 seconds. 9th fastest 400-meter hurdle time in history. If there was any doubt about Rai Benjamin, which I don't think there was.
No.
But I think just seeing this was just confirmation for me.
All I'm saying is Carson Warholm better watch out. He better watch out.
Yeah.
I mean, 46.64, I believe. So a couple weeks ago, I think it was Diamond League Doha. Alison Dos Santos ran, I think, 46.86, which at the time I think it was the fastest time ever recorded in May for the 400-meter hurdles. Then you have Rai Benjamin come out here and open the season with 46.64, and it's like, dang, like, you know, he's not messing around. And I know we're going to see him compete, I believe, in the 400-meter hurdles this weekend at Prefontaine, which would be really exciting to see. But, I mean, gosh, it's going to be hard to stop him if he's already running this fast. I mean, it shows that, you know, the trends are good. I know he's back, you know, training with Michael Norman, because I know our Brian Dybel went out and was able to shoot a workout with them in the spring, and they've really been dialing it in. And obviously it's a big year, so they've been working together. So obviously those things are working right now.
I don't know if you saw the race. I had to watch it
Yes.
a couple of times. The only thing he needs to clean up is that last hurdle.
Last hurdle. Yep.
If he can clean that up, which I full doubtedly believe he can, it's going to be crazy how much faster Rai Benjamin's going to go.
Absolutely. I mean, you start thinking about, can he lower his own American record? I think it's at 46.14. Like, can he get under 46, challenge the world record even? Like, I think that's all in conversation, all while, obviously the biggest goal is trying to get that Olympic gold, which he doesn't have yet.
Yeah. All right. Were there any other athletes that caught your eyes from the LA Grand Prix meet?
I think to go to the distance side of things, Ellie St. Pierre, she competed on Friday night, and gosh, the way she just destroyed almost the entire field in the women's 5K there was just so impressive. Obviously, she's coming off a huge indoor season where she won the 3K world title, 14:34 in that 5K there. I believe that makes her now one of the top 5 Americans ever at the 5K, indoors or outdoors, I believe. Gosh, just like, again, the way that she just dialed in and just knocked off those laps, and then over the final 800, like she was able to just pull away and really close. I think that's kind of scary. Like, seeing Ellie St. Pierre in this kind of shape makes me just so intrigued to see like what she does for the trials, you know, because like they were talking about it on the broadcast, actually, like, could she do the 5K 15 double? It would be hard to do because you got to go through all the rounds of the 15 after already running 5Ks and prelims and finals there. Like, that'd be a little difficult, but I'm curious now, like, just since she has solidified herself as right now the top American in the 5K, like, does she do the double?
That's interesting. That's a lot of range too. That just shows you how dominant Ellie is. Like, the fact that you can go from the 15 all the way through the 5K and looked strong doing it. Yeah. Ooh, that puts it into another perspective.
So it makes you wonder if, like, could she do that? Shoot, she wouldn't do this, I don't think, but if she wanted to, she could probably drop down to the 8 and run like 157 too or something like that. So
would love to see that. Yeah. Just a fun Ellie when the Olympics are over, just a fun meet do for Ashley and I. Just run a 800.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think, how fast do you think she can go?
I don't know. I will tease this out here. We did when we were in Flagstaff, we did happen to catch up with Ellie St. Pierre a couple weeks ago, and she did do a workout with some really quick 800s. Let's just say it was very quick. So
very quick.
That'll be dropping soon. That'll be dropping soon.
All right. So nice little tease there. Stay tuned for that. Before we move on, wait, did you have any other?
Those were my biggest takeaways.
Kyrie King and Tebogo head to head here in the men's 100. I think that was one of the more surprising finishes, I think, for me, because we've just been talking about Tebogo, just doing incredible things, showing that range. Kyrie King grabs the victory, 10-11. Tebogo, 10-13. Again, just, ever so slightly. But great matchup from those two gentlemen. And, still excited to see Tebogo.
Yeah, I thought that was definitely an interesting race there. Didn't expect Kyrie King to come away with the win, but he does. And I do want to put this out there. I think I saw that Tebogo's mother passed away while he was at the LA Grand Prix this weekend. So I'm sure, wishes out to him and his family too as well during that tough time. Yeah,
sending our thoughts and prayers out to the Tebogo family. All right, Ashley, the LA Grand Prix wasn't the only event that took place over the weekend. So let's kind of just generalize it. Of course, Ashley and I would be here all morning, all day, if we went through every single event. So let's just pop out a couple of our favorite other individuals, other performances, maybe matchups that we saw over the weekend that didn't come from LA.
Well, I think you have to go to the Diamond League meet in Morocco that was held on Sunday. Shericka Jackson.
She
opens her season in the 200. 22.82 into a negative 1.0 headwind. She takes the win. I don't know if you saw that race. Just like, what are your thoughts? Because I've seen a lot of mixed reactions, I feel like, on social media and stuff like that. Like, afterwards, she said to the media, like, hey, like, I was just trying to come out here, open up, get the win. It was really windy and it was cold too. And she was just trying to get it done. And, she's happy with how it went out. And some people are like, should you be worried that, like, it's, 22.82 in May? I'm like, I don't know if we can doubt Shericka Jackson. Like, come on, like, you've seen what she's done in the 200, so close to the world record.
I think a lot of the world is just like
nervous.
We're nervous a little bit. We're like Sha'Carri Richardson. Then you have Shericka Jackson. I think we're just used to seeing blazing fast times at like the championship like time frame. So we're expecting sub 22. We're expecting 21 something. Here, we just saw Shericka Jackson literally put out one of the fastest times ever recorded by a woman. she's made it very clear, like, she's going after the world record. So we're kind of, as track sickos, as we like to call ourselves, like, we're used to seeing those times. So when you see a 22.8, you're kind of like, wait a second, what is happening? But you brought up a very valid point. Cold. She didn't look probably like the Shericka Jackson we're all used to. Gabby Thomas put it in perspective. I'm in the middle of a certain training block. She didn't look the way how we normally see Gabby Thomas. Everyone's in different phases right now. Personally, I'm not concerned because I feel like everybody in the world right now, minus a few people out there like Tobogo and some others, Rai Benjamin, I'm like, okay, we got to get the wheels turning a little bit more. But I'm personally not worried. Ask me this question in like 9-10 days. I might have a different answer because now we're in June. But as of right now, I'm not worried.
Maybe give it like 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that.
Yes.
See what happens. But, I mean, if Shericka Jackson isn't concerned, then I guess maybe we shouldn't be concerned either. She said a quote that she's healthy, she's staying healthy, and that's what matters. So I think maybe everyone just needs to take a deep breath for a second.
Chill pill.
For like a few weeks, or not even a few weeks, a couple weeks. But
couple weeks.
So yeah.
I think we should panic like after NCAAs. Then I'm like, if it's not clicking now, and I'm just thinking of the USA trials, that's literally a week and a half after NCAA. So if we're not clicking by that point, honey, we're praying for a Hail Mary pass at this point. But yeah, love Shericka Jackson. I'm not too concerned there. Let's talk about the Atlanta Games because I think you and I are both on the same wavelength. Let's talk about Noah Lyles, our guy. They ran 150 meters. Interesting distance.
Very weird distance.
What are our thoughts on Noah Lyles? And I'm also going to talk about Candace Hill too.
Well, he technically broke an American record, I guess.
Congratulations.
A little bit off of Usain Bolt's world record in the 150 meters. Yeah. I want to know, how many times has the 150 been contested ever?
Oh, I have no idea. That was something I did at practice. That was never something I've ever done at a meet.
I mean, he did split, I saw, sub 10 through the 100, so he's obviously in tip-top shape. So kudos, I guess, to Noah Lyles. Kind of a weird meet. You know, they build a straightaway basically and then a long jump pit as well in a park in Atlanta. Kind of cool, I guess, but definitely interesting. But yeah, I guess he gets the American record. Cool.
I always wanted to go to a street race. I think that would be fun because you're up close and personal as a fan.
It does make it engaging with the fans.
Yeah,
you know? Like, and probably. It creates sort of like, say you're walking by and it's like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, wait, there's a track meet that you come around, you stand around and watch, and maybe you create a fan from that. So it is kind of a cool concept, I think.
I agree. Candace Hill ties the American record for 150 meters, 16:30. Again, this was at the Atlanta Games. I think I saw some things on social media where she was like completely shocked. She was saying how like, oh, I was expecting like 17 low, 16 high, 16.3. Ties American record. So Candace Hill is starting again, getting those wheels turning, looking strong. We're just a few weeks out from Olympic trials, so I think that's a great place to be.
Yes, I think that was great for her. But then, while we saw the 150s, we did see some actual standard events contested as well. I got to give a shout out to Grant Holloway, world lead, 13:07 and 110 hurdles. Did you see the picture of him after that race? Like, smash it. Like, he like. I don't know if it was an alcoholic drink or something like that.
I saw a reel.
It looked like a seltzer or something like that. And then he just like
chugged it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Grant. He's a great personality.
Awesome.
So that was funny. And then Aaliyah Hobbs ran 10:88 in the 100, which that's really solid for her.
Very, very solid. Again, some athletes kind of like, all right, let's get the wheels turning. But then you get athletes like Aaliyah Hobbs who's just like, poof, 10:8, looking strong. All right. I have 3 other athletes that caught my attention from the weekend. Prudence Sekatso, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. She went 157.26 to be the world leader in the 800 meters, set a new personal best in Rabat. What is so fascinating about her is like she's had an undefeated season, and this was her first Diamond League victory of the year. We were talking about the Diamond League. We were talking about how much coins these athletes are getting. So congratulations to her. And she's just 27.
She's 22 years old, and I loved seeing her interview afterwards. She was like, she had so many emotions going on, and she was like, I just want to talk to my coach. Like, I'm over the moon. She's like, I want to cry right now, but like my coach isn't here, so I can't like cry happy tears to him. I got to just call him on the phone. Like she was just like really happy.
Yeah. So great run for her. And then Alexander Dom. Is that the name that we do? Because on paper it looks like Doom.
I wish it was pronounced Doom. I wish it was.
So Dom, Alexander Dom, an athlete that we were talking about in the office, 44.52, nearly a half-second lifetime best here to win the Marrakech, and he opened up his season last year with a 46.50. So I want to share that to put in perspective how much stronger that he is right now going into this Olympic year. To go from a 46.50 to now a 44.52 is ridiculous. And then we also had a Siberian national record fall in the high jump. So huge shout out to Angelica Topek, who cleared that in the high jump, 1.98 meters.
She's only 18 years old too. So that's
ridiculous.
And that's her second Diamond League win of the year. And then back to Alexander for a bit. You know, he was the world indoor champion in the 400. Yes. So obviously a lot of momentum there. But he did mention too, like he ran this 44.5, excuse me, like after World Relays, which he was a couple weeks back, and he had been injured between World Relays and here, so he had been doing a lot of biking and stuff, and so he's still not 100%, I think. So I think this shows that he, you know, if you're opening up in 44.5 when you're not even 100%, like he could be one to watch as we get closer to Paris.
Yeah, you're just on the right track there, which is really awesome. So that does it for all of our highlights from the weekend. So let's switch gears into NCAA talk. Let's talk about regionals.
Yes.
The East are kicking off in Lexington, Kentucky. The West is in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I believe we saw it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we're about to be in the midst of it.
Goodness. Lots of track.
Lots of track. Okay, let's start. Where do you want to? I'm going to let you decide. What region do you want to start with?
Let's start East. Let's start East. You know I'm an East Coast girl. Let's start East.
Okay. Men or women first?
Let's go women. Let's go women.
All right, Ashley. Who is maybe some athletes that we really just need to look out for? Any surprises that we're kind of just like looking into? Let's just start there.
Well, I think some of the biggest storylines in the East come on the distance front, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the entries and stuff, Parker Valby, 5K, 10K double. I think that's big.
That is huge.
We didn't see her do that last year. Last year, she just ran the 5K, won the 5K last year when it was out here in Austin, but she had been coming off of a kind of an injury. She had been injured last indoor season and then went into that finally healthy. But this time around, we've seen what she can do in that 10K. I mean, yes. She ran 30:51, I believe, which is just insane. And so I'm just curious to see how she handles the 5K, 10K double. We saw her do the 3K, 5K double indoors.
Yeah.
So we'll see if she can do that here outdoors.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, okay, Miss Valby doing the double again. Quite interesting.
I'm not surprised. Also, Hilda Olamomoy, cannot speak this morning, of Alabama, will also be doing the double. And like she is, if anyone can challenge Parker Valby, it's going to be her.
Yeah.
We've seen her go, I think, 15:06 in the 5K, which is, I think, the fastest time in the NCAA this season. So I think she could be one to challenge as well.
Yeah, I like that. Anybody else doubling that you're impressed by?
Maya Ramsden.
Yeah.
You know, she actually just competed this past weekend, I believe, at the LA Grand Prix. And so now she's going to be running regionals, 1,500 meters, 5K. We haven't seen her much in the 5K. She's really, I mean, we saw her win the mile indoor title back a few months ago, but she's going to try to do that double there, 5K.
Yeah, I like that. I think the biggest, I don't want to say surprise, but as soon as I saw South Carolina entered, I was like, where's Jamesia Ford? What is she doing? Because we know she competed in the 100 at SECs, also ran the 200 as well. We know she can run a 400, so I was like, what is she going to do? So I was scanning through the entries. I might have to do like a quadruple take, but from what I saw first glance is I only see her running in that open 200. So
yeah, that's what I saw too. And then the relays.
And then the relays, of course. So I know the biggest question, I think, for you and I was when we started seeing her popping off this indoor season, and we were like, where are you going to hone in on? Like the Olympic trials, obviously we see her doing that. So what are you going to kind of shift towards? Because she could have done the 1-2 double. She could have also done the 2-4. The 2-4 is a whole different beast. Yeah. So I'm just like really impressed that we're kind of shifting into the 200 and then plus the relays too. So she'll get to do that with her teammates. But that was the biggest thing for me was what is Jamesia Ford doing?
Yeah. And I like that move, right? Because I think if you look at, you know, where some of her competitors are, I think her biggest competitor is Mackenzie Long of Ole Miss.
Yes.
I mean, Mackenzie Long's gone 22:03 this year. Like, come on. Like, she's been insane. But Mackenzie Long's also doing the 100, right? So she's doing that that double there.
Yeah.
Jamisia will be fresher when you come to that 200 not having, excuse me, messing with my mic here, won the 100. I think that's a smart move, actually.
Yeah, I like that too, especially when you just think about the Arkansas woman just stacking up, it's just, woo! That's tough. And then I guess the other woman, of course, huge fan of Isabella Whitaker. I know there was some news that dropped because I was even confused. I was like, wait, she's transferring in the middle of this season. But I think I saw pictures. She finally graduated from Penn. She's going to be in that 400 meters, has gone 51:14. So this is going to be her last season competing for Penn. And then starting next year as she goes through grad school, she's going to be part of the Arkansas Razorbacks. So I know this is a special moment for her, one last time wearing that uniform, and then she'll be moving off to being a Razorback. So excited to see. Those are some of our storylines from the East women. Let's talk about the East men. Ashley,
Yes.
who are you looking forward to seeing?
Again, I guess I was really focused on the distance side because I have a lot of distance notes. I was curious to see how the UNC men decided to attack the different distance events, and the way they're kind of spreading it out is they have Parker Wolf in the 5K, Ethan Strand in the 15, and Alex Phillip in the 10K. I was curious to see if Parker Wolf was going to do the 5K, 10K double, similar to what he did at ACC's, but I think he's just trying to go all in for that 5K title there and try to challenge some of those guys like Nico Young and all those guys. Ethan Strand is the top entrant in the 1500, and then Alex Phillips the top entrant in the 10K for the East men. And then also Graham Blanks. I know he was injured for a lot of the indoor season, and then he comes back out, and he's been running some 5Ks. So I'll be curious to see what he does here.
Yeah, I think I have Graham Blanks written down for me as the athlete I'm looking forward to seeing too. He recently DNF'd at the Yale Twilight meet mid-May. Not really concerned.
He was probably pacing.
That's exactly where my brain went. And then went 13:47 at the Ivy League Outdoor Championships to win the title there. So I think he's just starting to get the wheels turning. So great, and I'm actually really excited to see him hit that track again, which is awesome. Ashley, do you have any other? No. Okay, you're all set. So, of course, I went sprint side. And I was like, South Florida, talked about them on the other show. I'm just looking forward to seeing what this program does. You're kind of getting out of that, the AAC, and you're kind of getting that experience against, Big 12, SEC, some of these big powerhouse conferences. And South Florida, 38:44 already in that 4x1. As I mentioned before, they're the second fastest time in the NCAA, tied with Houston. They're going to be facing LSU. That's gone 38:19, which they did at SEC. So I'm like, how do you fare against some of this different types of competition? So looking forward to seeing what South Florida does. And then part of that team is going to be Abdul Rashid Samunu, who went 10:03 in the 100 meters. That at the time was NCAA number 5. He's also gone 20.34 in the 200. So he'll be looking to do the double. But South Florida for me is the headline. I'm curious to see how many people qualify for nationals and just where they stack up against some of this competition. Because we saw them at Penn. They held their own.
I mean, they took down Houston twice at Penn. So we know that they can take down some of the best teams.
Yes. All right. Any last minute thoughts on the East region?
I think I'm good to go.
We talk about the West. All right, let's do the West. Let's start with the West women. What are we looking forward to?
Well, I think obviously the biggest storyline is how can Arkansas place in the women's 400? If you look at the top 4 entrants, all from Arkansas, and then there's plenty of other Arkansas athletes. I think there were 6 or 5 within the top 8 entrants or something in the women's 400. So I'm more just curious to see how many people they can qualify through. I also think Jaden Mays is an interesting storyline for Oregon. She's been phenomenal for Oregon this year. She won the 100 and the 200 at Pac-12. She's going to look to do that double again here at the regional meet. So I think she's going to be one to keep her eyes on, because I think of a lot of the sprinters going into NCAA, she's maybe one of the most underrated, I think.
I have to agree with you.
But because she's been super consistent.
Because you had athletes like JC Sears, who my heart just breaks. She won't be competing at regionals. It looked like she was dealing with a hamstring injury at SECs. And then Brianna Liston has been a dominant. So you get these big names, and then it's like Jordan Mays. But I think I agree with you. Jordan Mays is in that mix.
She's gone 11:01 in the 100 this year, which puts her at 4th in the NCAA. And then she's also gone 22:46. Can't sleep on her.
No,
I think she needs to be someone that people have bigger eyes on, maybe.
Yes, exactly. And especially we're going to Eugene, Oregon. So she's going to have The ducks standing behind her there. So I have to agree. I think she's definitely one of those underrated athletes that we can't sleep on. She's definitely in that mix too. I want to talk about Jasmine Jones. I'm a huge fan of her. She's looking to do that 100-meter, 400-meter double. It's going to be tough, and I just want to throw this out there because you have Grace Stark, who's just, like, literally on fire from Florida. She's going to be in the other region. But, like, I just think about USC as a whole. Like, I think about Anna Cockrell, and I remember watching her do the double back in 2021. And Anna Cockrell was the second woman in history to be able to bring 2 NCAA titles in the same NCAA championships in both the hurdle events. I believe, do not quote me, but I believe Queen Harrison was the first. So then you have Anna Cockrell. Can Jasmine Jones potentially set herself up to do that? I know she's one of the strongest competitors in that 400-meter hurdle event. She definitely has some speed in the 100. So that's kind of the biggest storyline I have. And, you know, both Trojans here. So that's the biggest takeaway.
I think that's a great takeaway there. Absolutely.
Can we see the double here? All right. Let's talk about the West men. Ashley.
Again, back on the distance theme.
Ashley with the distance.
Well, you know me. I'm always get so intrigued.
Clearly I'm the one that talks about all the sprints.
Athlete at heart.
Again,
I think it was interesting, you know, looking at the entries to see where NAU decided to put their athletes. And if you're looking how it matches up, you have Colin Solomon all in for the 1500. Nico Young all in for the 5K. Now, I think some people were like, wait a second, like, why isn't Nico doing the 5K, 10K double? Important to note that the 10K that he ran at the 10, Sound Runnings, the 10 didn't count towards NCAA qualifying. Hence, so he didn't have a 10K to enter to go to regionals. So all in for the 5K. And then again, we've seen Colin drop down all the way to the 800, I think, and run like 146 or 147, the 800, but he's only going to do the 15. And I think it's also interesting to note too, Kai Robinson, who won the 5K, 10K double last year at NCAAs, is only entered in the 5K this year, so he's not going to try to defend his 10K win from last year.
Interesting. All right. Distance side, I went with Johnny Brackens. That's all I'm going to say. Johnny Brackens, looking forward to seeing what this guy does. I remember just connecting with him at USA Indoors because he was there competing, and he's such a light. I just respect him, appreciate him so much. So he's going to be in that long jump, doing the 110-meter hurdles as well, doing that double, which is quite interesting because I believe the long jump and the 110s, if I saw correctly, during regionals or around the same time. So, and he's probably used to it. Just put my jump in, run the 110, going back. So he's going to have a busy, short morning.
And I think
whenever they start.
You know, I think maybe he didn't perform quite as well as he wanted to at the indoor championships. I know he finished second in the 60 hurdles and then fourth in the long jump there. So I know he's going to be, you know, as we go through regionals and then go to NCAAs, he's going to be looking to win 2 titles, I think.
Yeah. So those are our biggest takeaways. So again, this is all occurring Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So next week we're going to be diving into all NCAA talk. I can't believe we're at this point. Like, have you sat like really reflected of like, it literally feels like yesterday that we were talking about NCAA cross. We were in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Very true. That's actually a good point.
Like we were hanging out with the athletes, and then all of a sudden, wow, where were we? Boston, NCAAs, hanging out.
Feels like we were just at NCAA indoors, to be honest.
That was mid-March.
Yeah.
That was 2 months ago.
Yeah. I always forget about how quick that turnaround is from indoor to outdoor. Crazy.
Boom. And then, wow. Just literally a few weeks, we're going to be back in Eugene.
Yeah.
NCAAs.
It's kind of crazy to think about, too. Like, I mean, you have all this going on, and then you have the pro circuit with the Diamond League and everything. And it's just, like, it's so much as, like, a track fan, like, to follow. But if you're a track fan, you have track all the time. So
yes. That's literally our lives. All right. Last but not least, Prefontaine Classic. Ashley, Brian, and I will be on the ground. We're flying out Thursday. Super stoked for this.
Yes.
Can we just go straight into the Bowerman Mile?
You already know what you want to talk about.
I want to talk about the Bowerman Mile because Ashley and I were there in person last year. We were there for the press conference. We were there for the race. And it still feels like yesterday.
Still feels like yesterday.
I could hear all of Hayward Field screaming. Ashley was inside the venue. I was in the mix zone. So I'm watching on the TV screen. But I just remembered Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Yard Nagoose, and even when you watch the broadcast, like, again, we were watching videos of this all morning.
We were watching the
video.
video.
Like, literally the camera was just on Yard Nagoose in Jakob Ingebrigtsen. And so we're about to see another matchup. So I think this is the biggest race, personally.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's the concluding event of the meet. It's, again, like we saw what happened last year. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, number 2 all-time in the mile there to win. Yared Nuguse breaks Alan Webb's American record. He just, not even breaks it, just demolishes it. And runs, I think, the 3rd fastest mile ever. You're going to see them towing line again. However, this time adds some more competitors into the mix.
Yes.
1500-meter world champion Josh Kerr.
Yep.
Jake Whiteman, who won the 1500-meter world title in 2022, I think that was, in Oregon. It's going to be really entertaining, right? Because I think the question is, how will the race play out, right? Like, it'll be a different scenario this year, I think, because, I mean, last year we saw just, I mean, it was full throttle from the get-go. I mean, they even split that race for the most part. They were trying to go after some really fast times, and they did. But this year, since it is an Olympic year and we're only in May still, I think the question is, like, what pace will they be trying to hit, or is it going to be more tactical just to get the win? Maybe kind of a mixture of the two. I think.
I agree. And I think even just reflecting last year, Prefontaine was like wasn't that the last Diamond League? So it was like the final.
It was the final.
So now
you're like event of the season, so that's why it's a little different.
You know, I think Corey, were we talking about this yesterday? Because now maybe it was yesterday. Yeah, because we were talking about Christian Miller. These guys are running. This is their livelihood. We're running for paychecks, you know.
Yeah.
So like here, it's just kind of like we're scoring points. It's ahead of the Olympic trials for their respected, countries. And just thinking about last year, it was the last one, time final. There's more, commas on the line. Well, not commas.
But I do think that this is
bigger risk.
I don't think it's necessarily this race just for paychecks. Like, I think this is one where these guys actually want to compete against each other, and it shows in the fact that they're all towing the line here in the Bowerman Mile. And again, I think it's going to be interesting how tactics go, because we've seen 2 of these guys here outkick Jakob in a 1500 before on the world stage. So if it comes down to a kick, is Jakob going to have more in the tank this time around, or is it going to be Josh Kerr, Jake Whiteman that has more in the tank? And then again, we've seen Nuguse run with Jakob as well. So I think it's like, I don't know who the clear favorite is personally. Maybe you have to go with Jakob.
I feel like you have to go with Jakob. I feel like you have to.
I mean, we've seen what he's done in the mile here. Like, it's, there's no denying that.
However, I'm rooting. I'm like, okay, the favorite on paper probably is Ingebrigtsen, but I'm cheering for my guy Yared Nuguse. Like, do not get that twisted. I am cheering for Yared Nuguse.
Supposed to be neutral. We're part of the media.
I know, but I'm like, Nuguse, man, I feel like it's the time. It's his time.
Yeah, and I'm also I think the other athlete that I'm really curious to see is Jake Whiteman. We just saw him run a 1:44.800 at the LA Grand Prix. Like, this guy has wheels. And so I think, again, if it comes down to a kick, like, he may be one that's going to outkick everyone to win too. And then again, we've seen what Josh Kerr can do over the final 200 meters as well.
Yeah, crazy.
It's going to be...
Oh, it's going to be spicy. That's going to be, like,
and
no one's leaving.
The thing is, like, those are only, like, some of the top guys in the Bowerman Mile, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean... If you look at the full entries, you're going to have Matthew Centrowitz, who just ran a 3:35, I believe, 1500 meter at the LA Grand Prix. So he's obviously in top shape. You have Cole Hawker, Ollie Hoare, Hobbs Kessler, Abel Kipsang, who was in the race last year. Cameron Myers last year, he's the teenager. He paced the race last year. This time he's coming back to run it. So I think overall, and Jordy Beamish too. I mean, he won the 1500 meter indoors. Like, there's so many players to talk about. And then Lemecha Girma, which is interesting to me because he is I believe the 3K steeplechase world record holder. So he's going to be in the mile. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, what do you want to talk about next? Now that we got the Bowerman
crazy.
Mile.
I feel like we could talk about the Bowerman Mile for like 20 more minutes, but we have to move on.
I'll let you pick the next one.
I think we got to talk about the women's 800 personally.
Okay. Second favorite event. Bowerman I'm putting as like, I'm bringing out the popcorn. I might come out of the mix zone to just watch this race in person and then go back in. Ashley, the women's 800 meters, it's a rerun of world champs. Yep. That's all that I see. Mm-hmm. Mary Mora, champion. Thing Mo, 3rd at Worlds. Nia Akins, U.S. national champion. Kaylee Hodgkinson, runner-up at Worlds. Raven Rogers, 4th at Worlds. Jemmy Riki, 5th at World. Should I continue? Like, you get the picture. Like,
yeah.
Literally, we're about to see the World Championship final last year. Toe the line. It's just, I'm overwhelmed. Like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know what to think. I think just Mora has been looking strong. A Thing Mo is finally about to come out, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Where's A Thing Mo? Like, what do you think when you see these names down?
It's interesting, right? Mary Moore, I think, has been off to a great start this season. She's run 2 157s. She ran in the 400 at the LA Grand Prix this past weekend and finished second. So I think that's, it shows that she has some speed underneath her. A Thing Mo was originally slated to run the LA Grand Prix, but then she did not run. She's now going to open up her open season at Prefontaine. Again, I think it's kind of a similar question to Sydney, where it's like, all right, where is A Thing's fitness? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, last year at Prefontaine, this is also a rematch of what happened at Prefontaine last year.
Yeah.
Even though A Thing Mo got 3rd at Worlds, she bounces back at Prefontaine, beats Mary Mora,
Yes.
Lee Hodgkinson, and she sets a new American record in the women's 800 to grab the win there last year. So I think it's more of a question of like, okay, now you're going to have A Thing Mo in the mix. Mary Mora's already in top form. We're going to see Keely Hodgkinson in there as well. It's like, how does this play out?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know how it plays out because I'm just like, I think you mentioned it, Mary Mora is on a streak right now. Like, just looks very strong, but I'm not counting out A Thing Mo. Like,
well, you can't count out A Thing Mo.
She's a
like,
fierce
why would you
competitor.
count out A Thing Mo? Yeah.
I don't know, because I just think we think about, like, for example, with Sydney, it's like, where is Sydney right now? Like, until she posted that 22:07, I think she hushed a lot of people, but also just put in perspective that she's fine, right? So I think going into it, that's where my biggest question is, where's A Thing Mo right now?
Well, personally, I think almost seeing Sydney do what she did last week tells me that A Thing Mo is fine.
Yeah.
Like, she's good. Like,
She's good.
I think really the question is, like, does she typically, I feel like A Thing she'll try to go to the front from the get-go and just try to win wire to wire. Like, does she use that tactic here? Like, how does this play out? Or does she try to sit a little bit and use more of a kick? Like, I don't know. I think it's going to be curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Bowerman Mile, women's 8. Those are my 1, 2. Is that your order, 1, 2?
Oh, yeah. Those
Okay.
1, 2.
So what's your third?
I'm really liking this women's 1500 personally. We're going to see Ellie St. Pierre. She's going to be, I think, the star to watch here. I'm just really curious to see how fast she can go into 1500 after we just saw her run 14:34 in the 5K. You're also going to have Nikki Hiltz in there, Corey McGee, Jessica Hull.
Yeah.
Just so many big players there. So that one's going to be stacked. Katie Snowden from Great Britain as well. So I think that one's going to be very interesting. And also just kind of a preview, honestly, of the U.S. trials in a way. You also have Laura Muir in there, Sinclair Johnson, bunch of talented Ethiopians as well. So I think this could be a fast one.
Elise Craney?
Elise Craney, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I just have the whole thing.
You have the whole list up here.
Gosh,
Yeah.
again, just stacked.
Yep. And I think for me, the question may be like, so we saw how Ellie St. Pierre ran her 5K at LA Grand Prix. Like, she went to the front from the get-go. Like, does she do the same thing in the 1500, or does she like play it patient and really try to use a kick at the end? So I'll be curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm very curious. But I think, like,
I do think she's the favorite
Ellie.
for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Like, wow, coming off of a 5K and then putting in a 15.
Yeah.
On the other side of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. Just wild. Or not the other side. That was LA. Never mind. I was thinking Atlantic Games in my head for whatever reason. But yeah, I like that pick of the 15. I think for me, my number 3, of course, I'm a sprinter. Did you see this men's 200?
Yeah,
Ashley.
it's going to be very loaded.
Ashley.
Yeah.
Kenny Benderick, Joe Fombole, Arian Knighton, Courtney Lindsay, Tobogo.
See, okay, here's the question.
What?
I keep listing questions. I feel like we have not seen Arian Knighton run a whole bunch this year. Like, I know he ran indoors, I think, once at one Continental Tour meet. He ran a great time in that Continental Tour meet, but that's about it. Kenny B is the world leader at 1967. I mean, that guy he's in tip-top shape, and he's proven that. I think that's going to be interesting. We saw what Joe Fombole did at World Relays on that. Did you see that 4x1 where he had a huge comeback for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wasn't he like definitely in the back? And then all of a sudden you just see Fombole trucking through. for
So
Liberia.
we know he's fine. He's in tip-top shape. And then Courtney Lindsay's been one of the top Americans this year already too. And then Tobogo as well. We know what he can do.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention Kyrie King just coming off of, edging out Tobogo in the 100. This 200 stacked. This ridiculous.
I think that's going to propel some of these guys to some quick times for sure. Just like, again, you have the world leader, world medalist in this race. I think it's just going to, for me, it's going to be a matchup to see how these guys stack up and where their fitness levels are at this current point in the season as we get closer to trials and closer to the summer.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Ashley, I feel like you have a couple of other events.
Yeah, maybe should we do like a speed run of like listing?
Yeah, because your girlie only has one more, so I'll let you take control of that one.
So I do think we should mention. So we'll have the women's 10K. Gudaf Sagai is going to be in the women's 10K for the Diamond League meet. However, it was also announced. So the Kenyan trials in the 10K
about to bring that up. Yes.
are happening at Prefontaine, which I believe it's happened before. So that was announced earlier this week. So that's been added to the schedule. It's going to be earlier in the morning. So you're going to have Beatrice Chibet, I believe, in that 10K for the Kenyan trials on the women's side, and we know what she can do there. So that'll be interesting to see, these athletes traveling here to compete for their spots in, the Olympics.
Insane.
Yep.
10K. For me, 110s, Grant Holloway, Hansel Parchment, Daniel Roberts, you're looking at your 1, 2, 3 finishers at Worlds. Boom.
Yep.
That's my thing. It's going to be great.
Yep.
All right. Ashley, do you have any other?
Speed run?
Oh, speed run. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a lot more to speed run.
Yeah, let's speed run.
Okay, so we don't have full start lists, I don't think, for these, but women's 100.
Like, where are the entries?
I don't know. Not on the website.
Goodness.
Sha'Carri Richardson in the women's 100. Very curious to see what happens there. We haven't seen her run 100 yet.
Very true.
She's run a couple 200s, and she did those earlier in the Diamond League season, but we'll see her run the 100 here. Very excited to see what happens there. Christian Coleman will also be in the men's 100, which is super exciting. And then if you're looking down, we already talked about the men's 200. I think I alluded earlier, Rai Benjamin in the men's 400 hurdles. And then going to the field events, I think this is a very spicy field event.
Yes.
Ryan Krauser, Joe Kovacs, two of the best of all time going at it. They did this last year. Kovacs won this event last year at Prefontaine.
Yeah.
We'll see the rematch.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to all that. I just love Prefontaine. It's just a great race. Great meet.
It's great. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. We get to go back to Eugene. That's Ashley and I's,
I find it funny because I feel like so many people, hate on Eugene because they've been there so many times. But, Eugene just speaks to my soul. Don't ask me why. I think it's the mountains. You know me and trees. I love the evergreen trees. And it's just, it's a track city. The city loves track, which I think is really cool.
I was not paid to say this, but if y'all have a chance to go to the paddock.
Oh, the pad. Yes, the pad.
Ashley and I call it the pad.
Mm-hmm.
The paddock, I don't know where it's at. It's right off of campus. Apparently, Prefontaine used to work there. So there's a whole, corner dedicated to him. Best food. Best drinks, open late, which is, for us media people, that's what we kind of look for, because it's funny how the meet ends and people leave, and I'm like, that's when the work just begins for us.
Yeah.
So we need a place that's open late. So if you have not been to the paddock, I need you to go check it out.
Just southwest of campus, in case you're wondering. That place is the bomb.com.
So you heard it here first on the FloTrack podcast.
You know where we'll be hanging out this weekend.
You know where we'll be. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe, the whole thing. Ashley and I will be, as I mentioned, Prefontaine. So come say hey. Gosh, next week is going to be crazy. We'll recap probably Prefontaine. We'll talk about NCAAs. So again, you'll find us next week, Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.